Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Shalal Putri Salsabil. I'm from the 9th group. In this occasion, I would like to review the first group's presentation. There are 3 members of the first group. They are Alice Sidratulha, Adelia, and Yohan Zendanu. So now I am going to review their presentation. Their material is about approaches, methods, and techniques in language learning and teaching. The material about approach was presented by Alice. The material about method was presented by Adele, and the material about techniques was presented by Yohan Zendanu. So let's come to the first material. It's about approaches to language teaching. An approach to language teaching is something that reflects to the certain model or research paradigm. Furthermore, an approach sets basic rule or basic principle to make learning possible. Based on what I've got from Alice's presentation, there are 8 approaches in language learning process. The first approach is grammar translation approach. This approach can be used at the elementary school, junior high school, senior high school, because this approach is the simplest way or the shortest way, the easiest way to explain words or phrase, because this approach is only focused on reading and writing, so that the students will not have difficulties in understanding the lesson. The next approach is direct approach. This approach can be used at the university level because this approach is focused on direct learning. In this approach, students will get more experience in speaking foreign language. Then they will more motivate to understand and pronounce words or sentence in foreign language that taught by their teachers, especially when the teacher used the media. The next approach is reading approach. This approach is the reaction to the direct approach. In this approach, the teacher should not have a good oral proficiency because it only focused on reading skills. The next approach is audiolingual approach. This approach is the reaction of the reading approach. The focus of this approach is at the listening and speaking. And it can be used at the university level. One of the objectives of this approach is to foster the students to learn the target language automatically. Then, in this approach, the teacher must have a proficiency at the structure, vocabulary, and etc. The next approach is oral situational approach. This approach is the reaction to the reading approach. In this approach, all the languages are practiced orally before being presented at written form. Then, in this approach, the target language should be used at the classroom. Then, grammatically structure are graded from simple to the complex. The next approach is the cognitive approach. This approach is the reaction to the audiolingual approach. In this approach, reading and writing are important as listening and speaking. So, in this approach, the teacher should have a good general proficiency about about the target language, as well as the ability to analyze the target language. The next approach is affective humanity approach. In this approach, respective feelings is really important. Communication between teachers and students are really meaningful. In this approach, classroom atmosphere is more important than the material and methods. And in this approach, the teacher should be the counselor or facilitator. Then the last approach is a comprehension-based approach. In this approach, the students should not speak when they feel that they do not ready to speak, because they should have a preparation. Okay, that's all about the approaches. Next is about method. Teaching method. Teaching method is what kind of activities we use in order to teach. Method refers to the procedure within an approaches. We use method depends on scientific, then an approach, and has a step-by-step procedure to solve the problem. Based on what I've got from Adelia's presentation, there are two main types of methods, teaching methods. The first one is non-participatory methods, and the second one is participatory methods. The first one is non-participatory methods. In these methods, the teachers looked upon by the students as an expert, as an authority. On the other hand, the learners or the students is considered to be a passive recipient of the knowledge by the teachers. It means that at this method, the students only receive the knowledge given by the teacher, the material, the lesson given by the teacher, without giving their opinion, without giving their ideas or views about the material. The second one is participatory method. In this method refers to the way in which teacher and student are at the constant interaction, and then active involvement and continuous exchange of ideas, views at all of the language teaching and learning. It means that at this method, the students is not only receive the knowledge given by the teachers, but the student is also can express or explain their idea, their views about the material given by the teachers. That's all about method. The next is about technique. What is technique? Technique is something that usually takes place at the language learning and teaching. There are 4 examples of techniques in error correction. The first one is the teacher doesn't praise or criticize that language learners learn to rely on themselves. It calls talent way. The second one is teachers often praise students when they make good things in the learning process. It's called audiolingual method. The third one is the teachers when a student produce a wrong or a false expression, the teacher will just repeat the correct one, the right one, and it's called the physical response. And the last is the teacher doesn't care about when the students make a wrong expression or something wrong, as long as it doesn't hinder communication, and it called natural method. So that's all my review about the first group's presentation about approach, method, and technique in language teaching and learning. So thank you for your attention, guys. I'm sorry for all of my mistakes. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and see you at the next video. Bye bye.